Alert. Main generator coolant system malfunction. Attempting
I'm sorry,
manual
she has
repairs.
just been so
Failure.
desperate for attention lately.
Coolant reserves
Just ignore her.
repurposed for.
Penguin Pupil Initiative.
You will eventually need to let that go.
Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's review, we're going to be taking a look at Gravitas. Now, this is a very small indie game, both developed and published by Galaxy Shark Studios, so they took care of all the work, and they're also a small company. So I want to quickly thank them for the review copy and making this video possible. Now, before I get out there, I do want to mention that this is a free game, so it is a bit of a weird review since you can just technically go and check it out yourselves right now if you really want to, but maybe you can't be bothered to go and download it, or you're just chilling, or you have slow internet speed and you just want to hear my opinion before starting that download. So yeah, here we go. So Gravitas is a puzzle game that is kind of 50% puzzles, and the other 50% of the game is dialogue. Is a very dialogue centered game. Now, obviously for the puzzle part, you will be able to play with gravity, and that's pretty much all you do, but we'll be getting to that part in a second. Now, just by the looks of the game, you're probably already starting to compare it with another really well-known puzzle game, since it's all about the humor. It takes place in a test lab. There's a robot taking you around. He's just flying about and talking to you. Now, this is all true, and to be honest, when I first launched the game, I was generally thinking, oh god, here we go, this is clearly not going to be that great. But to my surprise, after the first few levels, I generally was starting to get into the jokes, and I was really thinking that they're actually really well done. Like, I was laughing at them quite a lot. Now, since the protagonist is silent in this game, all the jokes are made by the robot that's taking you around and the artificial intelligence that is speaking to him, kind of like this artificial intelligence that looks after the place, sends out the warnings and stuff like that. And so, like I said before, it actually works really, really well, and I think the jokes are well pulled off. Also, another cool thing about the dialogue in this game is that the NPCs will actually react to what you're doing. So if you just wait around forever, they'll commentate on it, or if you just run straight into the puzzle without waiting for the tutorial to end, he'll also commentate on it. I think that's pretty funny as well.
Not to be rude, but why are you still here? There's no more art to experience in this room. Go and climb the metaphor. So to appreciate my revolutionary work, or just interrupt me by immediately grabbing a mysterious glove that you know literally nothing about and could just be filled with scorpions. Alright then. She, begin the connection sequence.
Now, for the graphic style, it's pretty minimalistic, as you can see there, and simple, and I kind of really like this because the gameplay is actually very simple in this game. So as far as abilities, you actually only get one ability, which is to make a gravity tunnel on specific surfaces, but they do an actually good job of keeping the gameplay fresh. Now, the game isn't that long or anything like that, and you can probably finish it in one sitting, but from level to level, you will actually have to think quite a lot. Like, there's literally one button as far as puzzles go, but they do a good job of keeping it fresh every level. So for instance, at the start, you'll just move yourself about with the gravity tunnels, but then you'll end up moving blocks, you'll end up moving yourself on top of a block, you'll end up breaking glass, defending yourself from lasers, etc. Like I said, the game is really not that long, and since it is a puzzle game, I'm really trying to not show too much gameplay in the background, since most of these levels are from the start of the game, and I don't want to spoil anything. It does get quite a bit more complex than what you're seeing on the screen, and I definitely recommend not taking much notice. Now, as far as difficulty goes, like I said before, it's not the hardest game in the world. I find like the hardest part of this game is actually looking for the objective, like walking into the level and thinking, right, I've got to go from here, and the exit's over there, and how am I going to do that, what I've got to do. Once you know that, it's actually not too hard to spot the specific steps to do that objective, since, like I said, you can only make gravity portals on certain areas and stuff like that. If you are generally good at the game, you can probably get through it in about an hour, and if not, you'll probably take no longer than 2 hours to get through it. But yeah, it's not the hardest game in the world, but it's definitely not the easiest puzzle game either. And I think, so like I said before multiple times, considering you've only got one like ability, they do a good job of keeping it fresh and keep you thinking. Now, as far as the audio goes, I'm going to be honest, like I played through the whole game and not in any single point did I like say, wow, this stands out, or wow, this is good audio. And to be honest, I didn't think it was bad, but I guess it was probably because they clearly focus more on the dialogue and the whole humor thing that you just don't really take notice of the background noise. Now, I guess that's a good thing technically if they were going for that approach, just to make the humor the main thing. So, you know, nothing to complain about, but nothing great.
You know, after we're finished with this session, I think I'll introduce you to my penguin pupils. You would love them. They have a glorious little playground where they sculpt ice entirely with their little feet.
Alert. Main generator is now on fire. Evacuating is now 74% recommended.
No one cares. She stopped recommending things.
Now, like we've said before, the other good thing apart from the puzzles in this game is the humor. So I think we should talk about the characters and maybe a bit of voice acting, because as far as the story goes, there's really not much to go on. They don't explain anything. You literally start the game, entering the test lab, and you kind of get a small introduction to both of the robots, and they just throw you in the first level. Now, I really do like the personality of the two companions. They kind of don't get along that well, and like I said before, that's where all the jokes come from. And it made me laugh, but I do have to admit that I think the voice acting sometimes could have been better. Not all the time, sometimes it's really well pulled off, but sometimes it can kind of maybe be a bit cringy. But I still laugh nonetheless, but it could have been done a little bit better on the voice acting part of things. As far as like technical issues and like glitches or anything like that, nothing happened like it could be because the game's quite short. But in the playtime that I had, nothing happened that really affected me. However, sometimes like if you run into a room, especially after a level and there's dialogue going on, sometimes you'll hit like a load in pause, like the game will just pause and it will start loading. And then once you come back out of the load and pause, the dialogue will be gone. He won't continue saying what he was saying. But apart from that, that's like literally the only thing I could find. Now, despite and apart from everything that I just said, it doesn't matter how long the game is, it doesn't matter what the game is inspired by, it doesn't matter how similar that game is to one another. But if there's one thing that I really do want to give props to the people behind this game, that it's been such a long time and almost something that I completely forgot about. It's just so nice to play a free game that's not like a service type game. There's no online feature, there's no microtransactions. It's just a good old game from start to end. It doesn't matter how much story it's got, it doesn't matter like what the game's about, but it's just been such a long time, almost something that I forgot about. And I think it's incredibly nice of them to release a free game, no matter how good or bad it is, but no microtransactions, no hidden costs or anything like that. There's no online. Obviously, sure, no online, no co-op. Co-op would have maybe been nice on this game, but you know, it's really nice to see this type of game without spending money at all, and just to have a good old start to finish game. So definitely props to them on that. So this is basically my opinion. Since the game is free, I'm not going to give it a score, but if you are interested in a little cool puzzle game that you can get through maybe in one sitting, you should go and check it out. Like I said, it's free. I'll leave the link in the description so you can go and download it there. So Gravitas will be available the 24th of August on Steam. So hopefully this review is helpful, guys. If it was, please go like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Voice command.
Oh, good. There you are. This is the first piece of my gallery. Wow, alright. She just turned everything on. The new pupil apparently can't even stand 10 seconds of exposition. Alright, so in this first piece, I'm just going to observe you. If you don't mind. This is all for the future of the medium, you understand. Also putting on the glove was considered a form of consent to being observed. Let us begin!